Hello and welcome to Tako Talk. My name is Stephen Tako, author of Motivated to Act, and I've got Jeanne Stanley with me. So welcome to the show. Jeanne was telling me about how she has got an HR background, working with adults, people in the workplace. Imagine that. Our kids being bullied turn into people who are adults being bullied. And so thanks again for being on the show. And
no, you're welcome, Stephen.
Yeah, you bet.
I'm happy to be here.
Thanks.
Nice seeing you again. It's been a while.
It's been a while. So tell us a little bit about how it is that you got involved, like in the world of HR. What are some of the things that you saw there? Because I want to help people out there that are maybe dealing with bullying right now.
In the world of HR, you see everything, from people getting along to actual physical fights, drug usage, team building events, parties that get out of hand after drinking. But one of my areas of expertise really is employee relations. And part of my background was training with psychological profiling. And I went through extensive training to find out how to treat others, how to get to know others, so that you could have the most productive working relationships. And I also dealt with personal relationships too.
Now, was that mandatory? Did the company put you through some sort of training like that so you knew how to handle?
Yeah, that's a good question. We originally used it for recruiting purposes, learning what type of behaviors work best for particular positions. That was a great tool to find out who was best suited for a particular job. But I started using it for many other specific areas, such as team building and how about performance management or behavioral problems in the workforce, conduct, right, misconduct, and trying to solve those problems once we were aware of any conduct issues or performance issues. Maybe a manager and a subordinate couldn't get along very well, and the subordinate was complaining that the manager was too tough and was maybe bullying them around or harassing them. And you had to determine, were they really harassing or were they just not communicating properly?
Bullying is like this catchphrase now, and I've had people come to me and say, just because I'm like adamant, I'm not being wishy-washy on a particular topic, and then it's like, hey, look, this is the way that it needs to be, and this is how it is, right? And then they'll say well, for somebody who's a anti-bullying advocate, you're really bullying, me right now, and I'm like, I don't think that you quite understand what bullying means.
And that's really a good point. I think, first of all, like I said, you have to get to know who you're speaking with, who your audience is, who your subordinate is, your boss is, in order to really get along and have the most productive relationship. There's a myth. There's the myth to treat others the way you want to be treated. That's supposed to be the golden rule, right? Mm-hmm. Well, of course, a platinum rule is treat others the way they need to be treated. Why? Because you're going to get much better results from them if you treat them the way they need to be treated properly.
Is it the way they need to be treated? The way they need to be treated, or the way that they want to be treated?
Well, it's both.
Both?
Want, need. If that's what they want, and that's how they behave better, if you treat them that way, why not? But you have to get to know them.
Okay. You
have to get to know the other person.
Right, because how do you know what they need?
All right. Well, everybody has a normal behavior, and in their normal behavior, they're putting their best foot forward. And everybody has their stress behavior. And their stress behavior is when they're usually not being treated the way they want to, and they're going to typically react and respond in a very negative manner.
Right.
And so if you can find a way to get to know that person, Psychological profiling is a great tool in which to do that, but not everybody has that opportunity. So in the workplace, if you have a professional and an employee coach that has been trained in that area, don't ever be afraid to go to them. If you're not getting along with somebody in the workforce, human resources, people can be afraid to go to them because what do? We hire, we fire.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
But we also may have the expertise to help you to get along with the person you're having a problem with.
Yeah.
Let's say an employee comes to me and says, my boss is always after me, says that I'm not working hard enough, he wants me to work super long hours, and he's always yelling at me, and he doesn't think I can do anything right, right? Okay, well, let's find out a little more information. You have to get more information, first of all, okay? Because if I just say, oh, well, and start giving them advice without getting more information, I'm probably going to give them the wrong advice. And my first thing would be to ask a lot of questions. Who, how, where, why, and why, and why, and why. Because a lot of people forget to ask that question. Why?
Right.
Why do you think that's happening? And continue to ask that question.
Right.
Until you get to the bottom of it.
I think a lot of times people know. They know deep down that they're not giving their all.
Mm-hmm.
Now some people are in the workplace and, and they're doing everything they possibly can and they still feel like they're being bullied by somebody. But then there are people that deep down, they know that they really could be doing a little bit more than what they actually are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're using the scapegoat of, oh, well, he's just an angry man, or she's a bitter woman, and I have had, even on my own anti-bullying posts that I see people saying, oh, well, her fat, butt, should be sorry. We're like, look, okay, you've got issues right now. If you're talking about your boss and you're saying, well, her fat, butt is
and what does that have to do with anything,
exactly,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Why?
So you're judging somebody on their physical appearance,
right.
Mm-hmm.
What does that have to do with anything? Why even mention it?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got everybody has their biases, right?
That's right.
But if you start using these biases as a reason for lashing out at somebody or whatever, you're not helping the situation.
No, you're not.
And I remember going through some of the training when I worked in the corporate world as well, where you learn the 4 different major types of personalities, and there's several different methods out there. But yeah, it teaches you, and I think it's so great when companies provide that for their employees. It teaches you these are the different people, and then you start recognizing, oh, that person's this one, that person's the amicable one, that person's a personality, But then, yeah, it helps you so that you can give your presentation and be a lot more effective, instead of just like, oh, that person's bullying me, or that person's mean to me, and I can't do anything right. It's like, step out of your comfort zone a little bit and look at what the other person really wants. You think that you're being bullied at work or you're not taken seriously, you never get that raise, everybody's getting raises ahead of you, then you're obviously not, you're just not providing the company or the person in charge what it is that they really, really need in their terms. It's not like they're a bad person. It's not like you're a bad person, but you just haven't communicated correctly.
Right. And I think also in the workplace, if you can find a mentor that has a great reputation and can actually assist you, and you can practice, now again, maybe your HR person. That's where most of your expertise comes from, and they can be more objective in giving you some tips and having you maybe recognize what some of your strengths are, what some of your coworkers or boss, whoever you're having an issue with, what their strengths are, and also recognize their weaknesses. And you don't want to point them out to the other person. You want to start really focusing on what your strengths are. I think that's critical. And if you can do that and find a mentor that is positive, has a great reputation, and sit down and maybe practice out what you're going to say
Right.
to the person that you're maybe having difficulty with. And I think you're going to have, again, better results. Practice it. Decide what the best approach is going to be. And maybe they can help you come up with the solution as well, or at least a couple of options. It's best not to have just one solution, in my opinion. If you can help somebody with more than one potential solution, recommendations as to choices of what they can do, you're empowering them and building their confidence up as being the decision maker.
Right.
As to how they're going to approach that other person, and they're going to solve maybe that problem on their own.
All right, you guys, thanks again so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you real soon on Tako Talk.